we get unloaded, we get situated. We arrived on Wednesday, steamed up. They were running ops. We kind of steamed out onto the track right as they were finishing up ops. But it's a great layout. It's a lot bigger than it seems because so many tracks run next to each other, but you're not on the same track. It's like a 45-minute or 50-minute loop when you're all said and done. So we hop on the steam engine and we have to go out and just kind of figure this track out for ourselves.
Yeah.
We did get a preview ride beforehand, which was great. But I'll let you start. So I think I ran a full loop, and then we switched and you ran a full loop. But what was your take on operating steam on the layout and just kind of the learning curve that it took? So we hop on the steam engine and we have to go out and just kind of figure this track out for ourselves.
Yeah.
We did get a preview ride beforehand, which was great.
Mhm.
But I'll let you start. So I think I ran a full loop, and then we switched and you ran a full loop. But what was your take on operating steam on the layout and just kind of the learning curve that it took?
Yeah, I mean, right away, I think there was a little bit of nerves, new track and trying to get used to trying to know where all of the grades are, where all the water stops are, where the sidings are, all that stuff that I think all engineers should probably be aware of while you're running. But I mean, not to mention right now that our engine ran great the whole time it was down there, and so yeah, our engine ran phenomenally. And I think once I started going around, and I think the confidence just picked up a little bit more. Just I think what got me was how much gradients we faced, especially going up. Oh, I think it was near the grade that went up to Buckhorn, I think, which is the loop that went all the way up past right next to the steaming bays into the by Gibson Ridge. I mean,
It's a climb.
it really is.
Yeah.
Like I was told there was going to be a grade, but once we started getting onto the grade, I was like, wow, we gotta work this thing a little bit.
Yeah, it's it's a little bit of an adrenaline rush that first time on a new club track, because not only are we running steam, which I think just takes a lot more of attention and energy than just running a gas or electric, but you're running steam. It's a new layout. The map that they give you isn't necessarily reflective of the actual layout, because they're trying to separate the tracks and help you identify the different towns and industries on the track. Everything is run on signals, which we're not, accustomed to. So you've got a lot of bi-directional track that you're staying on top of, and yeah, you're trying to keep pressure. You're watching water, and you're not quite sure if, hey, this big grade, is it coming up in 30 seconds or 30 minutes? Because I'm just kind of coasting as we go, and we have a map, and we'll talk more about that. But when you're operating steam, it's hard to just sit here nose into a map and be operating. So you're just kind of taking that stretch of track one at a time, a little bit at a time. But it was fun. I mean, I remember the first loop. Like I said, it was a little bit of a rush, and it probably took me half a dozen loops before I felt real comfortable about, here's where I'm at. This is where my next 2 or 3, stops are on the route. But it was exciting. I mean, you were not behind the throttle, but you were behind us both times.
The first thing I remember though is the light system really impressed me, because we're not used to operating with lights on our smaller railroad at home. And so, yeah, it's easy for me to sit back and just enjoy the view, because you guys are doing all the hard stuff running the engine. But I remembered right away thinking, oh, this is really cool. We got to pay attention to what the signal is, and we might get written up here if we run a light. So it was very cool to see how the light system worked, especially when you had to stop, because multi-directional things going on.
Yeah.
And make sure you're not going to have a head-on with somebody. So it's important and very impressive, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was good that we started running when we did, because as we were going out, guys were coming in. They had just stopped their operating session for the day, which, when they're doing their op session, they're not running off signals. Everything's radio, which is just another layer of difficulty that you have to deal with on top of steam and everything else. And so it was nice to maybe take a little stress away to learn the railroad, those first few parts, and kind of have the place to ourselves. But it was a ton of fun. And I mean, I think that's part of the hobby, is just enjoying those first couple rides on a new place and just having to learn as you go and test your skills as an engineer. So,
another cool thing about that, when they took off for dinner, is, we just met these guys basically, and it's their railroad, and it just says a lot about the camaraderie and the trust of a hobby like this. You just kind of know what the people are like, and it was just cool. They're like, have fun. We're going to go get dinner. And we're like, wow, you're turning this whole gorgeous place over to us? Okay, we're going to love every minute of it till sundown.